is being recorded.
Thank you so much. And I want to also introduce Christina, who is another member of 350 Madison, who is also playing co-host Zoom duties, as is Kelly Kearns. So my name is Julia Isaacs, and I'm with 350 Madison, and I'm happy to welcome you to our webinar, Resisting the Line 3 Pipeline, a panel discussion and invitation to action. Hang on one second. I know some people are, sorry. Let's go to the, I guess I was going to say, so I'm with 350 Madison, and we're happy to host this meeting, but it's co-sponsored by Building Unity, Wisconsin Network for Peace and Justice, the First Unitarian Society of Madison Justice Ministry, and my own Quaker meeting, Madison Monthly Meeting of the Religious Society of Friends. It's actually our Peace, Social, and Earth Concerns Committee that's sponsoring it. Let me go to the next slide. I know some people are still arriving, but as people arrive, we're going to start with a video from the PBS NewsHour, just to give you some background on Line 3. This is from June 7th, the main day of action. And during the video, feel free to introduce yourself via chat, your name and where you're from. So Christina, why don't you start the video?
A pipeline battle brewing in Minnesota, today with the largest show of resistance yet.
We will! Stop Line 3! We lost! Stop Line 3!
More than 1,000 protesters from across the country called for a halt to construction, rerouting part of Enbridge's Line 3 pipeline. The Canadian-based energy company transports oil produced from the tar sands in Alberta, Canada, to refineries in Superior, Wisconsin. Since 2014, it has sought to replace a section that runs through northern Minnesota. The new 340-mile replacement pipe would nearly double the amount of oil carried while crossing more than 200 bodies of water and 800 acres of wetlands. It would also run between 3 reservations. Resistance has only intensified since construction began in December. Dozens of protesters have been arrested.
Get out of the area immediately or be placed under arrest!
Opponents say the pipeline risks spills in sensitive areas where Native Americans, the Ojibwe tribes, have treaty rights to hunt, fish, and harvest wild rice. Environmental groups also fear tar sands oil, one of the dirtiest forms of fossil fuel, will worsen climate change and threaten water resources. Those concerns are not unwarranted. In 1991, the Prairie River in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, was contaminated with nearly 1.7 million gallons of crude oil that leaked from the Line 3 pipeline, the largest inland oil spill in U.S. history. Now Line 3 is facing legal challenges at the state and federal level. But pressure is mounting for President Biden to intervene, as he did when he canceled the Keystone XL pipeline in January.
There is absolutely no question that President Biden could shut down the pipeline, Line 3.
Celebrities, including actress Jane Fonda, joined that call today.
Gonna keep coming back and making a ruckus.
Enbridge says the replacement pipeline will bring thousands of jobs to the region, meet higher demand for oil, and deliver it more safely. The project is already more than half finished.
For more on today's demonstrations and what's at stake for the Native tribes behind them, we turn to Tara Hauska, an attorney and the founder of the advocacy organization GNU Collective. She is a member of the Cochiching First Nation. Ms. Hauska, you are actually joining us, I understand, from the construction site where this pipeline is being built. Talk us through how you believe this pipeline is going to impact Native tribes.
The impacts of this project are very clear. It is a threat to our watersheds, to our wild rice tributaries, to these beautiful places we call home. It proposes to pass through over 200 water bodies, 800 wetlands, and dozens of wild rice watersheds along its path. And obviously folks are here to say that that's not going to happen, and our wild rice matters.
Tell me what happened at the protest today. I know you were expecting hundreds of people. Were there any arrests? Were there confrontations? Do you feel it was successful?
Yeah, there's actually over 2,000 folks that have shown up here in northern Minnesota, doing multiple actions at different sites. There has not been any really aggressive police confrontation. I think they're quite actually overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of folks that are here, and perhaps didn't realize the level of support that Native nations have and frontlines groups have across Turtle Island, and the concerns that people all jointly share about our water and our future.
And what are you all calling for? Are you expecting that President Biden is going to cancel this project the way he did with the Keystone XL pipeline back in December?
If there is a want to avoid civil unrest, if there is a want to uphold tribal sovereignty and to be a climate champion, there is no way that this project should be allowed to move forward. Line 3 is the equivalent of the emissions equivalent of 50 coal-fired plants. There are 3 Ojibwe nations suing against its approval. It is a violation of not only Indigenous rights, but of the rights of future generations to have a habitable planet.
Thank you, Christina. Even though this isn't a regular 350 Madison meeting, I'd like to do what we usually do at this time. It helps me. Even though we're looking at each other virtually, if we can all sort of put our feet on the ground, maybe look out your window, look at this picture, and take a moment to take 2 deep breaths together and reflect on our ties to this land we live on. The land in northern Minnesota, which is pictured here, is the land of the Anishinaabe people. They traveled there in the distant past, following a prophecy telling them to go to the place where food grows on water. The food is manumin, or wild rice. We acknowledge that when the Anishinaabe ceded much of their land in northern Minnesota in the treaties of 1851, they kept some land, including the land in this photo, which is on the White Earth Reservation. They also understood from the earlier treaty of 1837 that even though they ceded the land, they kept specific rights to the territory they ceded, including the right to gather wild rice and hunt and fish. The Anishinaabe of today continue to have an ongoing relationship with this land, including leading the resistance to the Line 3 pipeline. Those of us who traveled to the Treaty People gathering benefited greatly from their hospitality. I offer this land acknowledgement in order to ground this webinar in the knowledge and connection to the lands and the people living in northern Minnesota. To quote Mary Lyons, who is of the Leech Lake Band of Ojibwe and one of the water protectors, when we talk about land, land is part of who we are. It is a mixture of our blood, our past, our current, and our future. Next slide. So, again, welcome everyone to this panel. I'll introduce myself again. I'm Julia Isaacs. I'm your moderator, and I live in the land of the Ho-Chunk. I'm active with 350 Madison and also an active Quaker. And I thank both those groups for supporting me in my efforts to organize tonight's panel discussion. I think that we have 4 panelists joining us tonight. Fabio, Diane, Ian, and Jasmine. We may have a 5th panelist, Tim Corden, who has helped organize this, but he's off on line 3. I'm not sure how his internet's gonna work. He may try to call in around 8. I don't think Fabio is here yet. Diane, could you introduce yourself just to start? And I think I will take down the slides while people are introducing themselves. And I encourage people, if you want to see the speaker well, you can put yourself on speaker view up in the right-hand corner, and then you'll be able to see the person speaking.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Diane Brackharsh, And I am from so-called, or I live in so-called Madison, which is the land of the Ho-Chunk. I spend part of my time volunteering for 350 Madison. That's has become a very important part of my life, actually. I'm involved with both the Arts Collective and the Climate Justice team. And thank you so much for coming to listen to us.
Thank you, Diane. And we'll hear from the speakers more. I just wanted to have them introduce themselves. Ian, would you like to say hello?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ian. I live on occupied land of the Ho-Chunk, also known as Madison. I'm a farm worker at a local organic farm, working with mushrooms and other vegetables grown on the land. And I also thank everyone for their interest and their attention tonight.
Thank you, Ian. Jasmine, would you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Jasmine Niosh, and I'm a member of the Menominee Nation, otherwise known as the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin. I am currently calling in from the ancestral homeland of my people, just south of the reservation in Shawnee, Wisconsin. I'm a longtime climate activist and also a public administration student at the College of Menominee Nation, where I recently obtained my natural resources degree. Thank you all so much for having me. I look forward to learning from all of you as well.
Thank you, Jasmine. Now I'd like to find out a little bit more about those who are attending. And so I'm going to put up a little poll, which I hope you don't mind. It's anonymous, so no one will know your responses. That's a check I can do. So my question is, how many of you, how, if at all, have you resisted the Line 3 pipeline? Has anyone here, besides the panelists, well, including the panelists, has anyone attended the Treaty People gathering? If not, have you taken action against Line 3, like writing Biden, urging the banks to defund Line 3, amplifying all the messages in social media and other ways? And you can fill it out on the poll. Are you guys, you see the poll? And then maybe you've followed the news about Line 3 resistance with interest, or perhaps you're new to Line 3 and just eager to learn about Line 3. So can you vote? Not seeing people voting, so maybe I've done something wrong.
I see people voting.
Okay. Good. I see 0 have voted. It sounds like you have a different screen than I do, Christina.
I can't figure out how to vote. I'm on a phone and there's no place to put answers.
Well, Barbara, I know you were at the Treaty People gathering. So
yes.
One more than I see in the responses.
And I've also emailed Biden twice, and I'm following the news.
Yes, I was thinking people would put, that many people may have done all of them, but put the first one that applies to you.
Got it. Thank you.
Christina, let me know when you think there are enough that I should close the poll.
It looks like almost everyone has voted.
Okay. Sharing results. Oh, did not work.
Works for us.
Oh, you guys can see it? Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing it.
Interesting. Christina, can you tell me what it says? For some reason, I can't see it.
Yeah, so it looks like 39% of people have taken action, 35% are following news with interest, 15% attended the Treaty People gathering, and 11% are new to the issue.
Okay, so that's helpful. I just thought the panelists, it's fun for me as a social scientist to know who's here, but it's fun for the panelists. Okay, to know, and I'll find out later why everyone can see the poll but me. I guess that's better than the reverse. Now, I think we're ready to jump into the actual panel. So I've asked, oh, no, I was gonna say a little bit. For those who are new, less familiar with the Treaty People Gathering. The panelists asked me to give you a very brief overview of what our experience was like. We heard a call from Indigenous women to come to line 3. People mostly arrived by Saturday at 4 o'clock for a welcome ceremony and a delicious meal of wild rice soup. Sunday was a full day of training, and a lot of us camped out or stayed in different places nearby. Sunday was a full day of training in treaty rights and in nonviolent direct action. And then Monday was a big day of nonviolent direct action with actions in at least 2 different places. I know that the panelists were at 2 different places. And with that overview, I think I'm going to turn it to Diane to tell us a little bit about your experience. And maybe you could start off by sharing what led you to go to the Treaty People Gathering, Diane. You may be muted.
Oh, I think Diane disappeared.
Disappeared?
I don't see her on the list.
Okay. Maybe her internet's giving her troubles. Well, Jasmine, you could jump in, I think. Could you tell us about your experience? And maybe as a law student and a member of the Menominee Nation, you might say a little bit more about treaty rights or really anything about your experience you'd like to share.
Sure. So just to clarify, I'm not yet a law student. I am planning to go to law school in 2022 if everything works out really well. And so for anybody who knows anything about entering law school, it is one of the most important parts of your application is to make sure that you pass a background check. And as I mentioned, I am a very long time climate activist. And so it's pretty easy to like explain to law schools that getting into that good trouble when you're 18 or 19 is maybe something that you're not involved anymore. But it's less hard to convince them that you're not going to be a troublemaker when it's something that happened, the year before you entered law school. So I had a real incentive to not get arrested for this time around. So the action that I attended was, it was a water ceremony that was held on the Mississippi River, as well as an art demonstration. And we were also joined by some really wonderful speakers. I went to line 3 because as someone who's going to be a lawyer someday, I felt I had an inherent obligation to defend treaty rights, which are part of the highest law of the land. They're part of the Constitution. And also just as somebody who believes that it's important for countries like the United States to live up to their word. I also felt, although I am not Ojibwe, I am Menominee, which is derived from a word that means the people of the wild rice. So I felt I had a moral obligation to attend to protect the wild rice and the waters in which they're grown. It's one of the gifts from our creator that has kept us alive for thousands of years. And it was something that was very important for me to protect. Having said all that, my plan initially was not to stay the entire time because I was trying to, keep out of trouble. I was going to go donate, help out where I could, make some donations, and then leave before things got really hairy. But the entire time that I was there, it really felt like there was something really important that was calling out to me that said that I had to stay. Every step along the way, something beautiful happened, and I couldn't really understand. Are you guys not hearing me okay? Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. Every step along the way, it felt like there was something that was keeping me there. And I didn't really understand what that was at first, but I'm a person that believes in trusting your instincts. So that's what I did. I extended my stay longer than I intended to. And the day before the Treaty People Gathering, the big event, as I've been calling it, that's kind of when everything really became clear. As Julia mentioned, we were doing quite a bit of non-violent resistance training, which included in our section, learning some really beautiful songs, some of which were written or received, I guess, by an Ojibwe elder in the community. And she was intent on teaching us this song. It was the Nibi song. And Nibi in Ojibwe means water. And so this was a really beautiful song of gratitude, a song of thanks, and a song of recognition for this thing that keeps all of us alive. And there was a moment there where I was standing in this valley with these people from all walks of life, people from all over. There was somebody from Hawaii there that I met, who had come in for this. And we were singing this beautiful song of love and joy. And it reminded me of how I often see people talk, like share these memes that are like, oh, there's only one race, there's the human race, and we're all the same and all that stuff. And I'm not really a big fan of that because, you know, as somebody who is from a distinct culture and like does have like a different identity, like I feel like we are different and that should be okay. Like homogeneity is not the goal, nor should it be. But when I was standing in that valley, I felt like I could actually feel the thing that does actually make us all like the same, which is like survival. Like we're all like trying to survive, not just for ourselves, but for our children, for our grandchildren, for our ancestors, for everything that means anything about being a human. And that we were not just fighting against something, right? Like we've been doing for the last 4 years or however many years. We weren't just like standing in opposition to something. We were fighting for something. And like that right there, I think is the thing that I want people to take away, is that like, this is probably the most important thing you can do as a human. And it was beautiful. So just wanted to say that much. I will pass it on back.
Thank you, Jasmine. I'm not sure you have, there are a few, I can see the emotion in people listening. You're touching our heart, certainly for those of us that were there and for those that were not there. Diane, I think I saw you re-enter the room. I don't know how your internet's working and if you want to go next and talk about why you were led to go to the gathering in the first place.
Sure. Yes, sorry about that. I got kicked off and I'm so sorry I missed the beginning of Jasmine's talk because I love hearing her share her experiences. But so yes, I will. I'll first say a little bit about my experience there, and then I will answer your question. What led me to go? So I drove to the Treaty People Gathering the day before it started. It began on a Saturday, and the first day, which was Saturday, the opening day, was, as probably has been said already, so powerful and so beautiful. There was a prayer ceremony that opened the gathering, and there was singing and there was dancing, and we were invited to dance with the Indigenous leaders. And one of the first things that was striking to me was how moved they were by how many of us showed up. They were moved to tears. And that first day, not even everyone was there. We just kept coming and kept coming. But even Saturday evening, and you could feel the gratitude. It was so much more than they're just speaking the gratitude. It was palpable. And they talked, again, it was mostly ceremony and prayer, but they did talk some about, in general, the history of the Anishinaabe, which Julia mentioned at the beginning, how they were led to this land and how the wild rice is central to their being. It's so much more than just, how we might think of it as a livelihood or something. It's really central to their being. And it was really, really, really powerful and very beautiful. And so that day was, home. It's like, oh, that was just so, kind of the kumbaya day, I called it. And then the second day, was wonderful. We started early, and that was training day. And at the beginning, there was more training of the history, and especially fascinating was training on the treaty rights and Indigenous sovereignty, and some just incredible speakers. And one of the beautiful things was the weaving, not even weaving, there's no separation, it felt to me like, between their spirituality, their spiritual lives, and everyday life. So we would have a prayer ceremony, and then one of their attorneys would come and speak with us, and then there would be a song, and then there would be, it was just really powerful. And so I learned a lot more. Well, I knew very little, so that wouldn't be saying. I learned quite a bit about the treaty rights and different treaties that were signed and when and what that was supposed to guarantee, etc. Okay, so then right after lunch, so with lunch, we were given a gentle reminder that it was kind of time to start thinking about what we were willing to do, what level of comfort we had in participating the next day in the actions. And right after lunch was a general training for nonviolent direct action. And most of us had probably done some online training ahead of time. I know I had, which was very helpful. But some of the specifics about different roles people are there and that people are going to play, and what we should expect, in a general sense. Then it was time to start dividing ourselves up. And one of the things beautiful is it was very clear that no one role was more important than another. So if somebody chose to stay at the base camp and prepare the food or provide childcare, any of those things, that was no more or less important than attending an action. So, and the support was unbelievable. I'll talk about that in a minute. But just as the leaders, the Indigenous leaders, were so clear that their concern about the fish and the insects was as important as their concern about their siblings. It was just so striking. So it was the same kind of thing. So I had already decided that I was willing. So we were educated about different levels, and we didn't, of course, know about several different actions, but as it turns out, there were so many people that showed up that they were able to organize three distinct actions. So they would ask us questions, we would divide, do some training. And I had decided that I was willing to face arrest if that was necessary. So they divided us up into, or we just divided ourselves 3 groups. Green means you prefer not to get arrested. Anytime you go on an action, there is that risk. So they were clear about that. Yellow means you prefer not to get arrested, but you're very willing to, if that is what it takes in the action in which you participate. Red means you are intending to be arrested, and you'll have different roles. So then within the yellow group, we were divided into kind of 3 levels of risk tolerance in that. And so 1, 2, 3. So I was comfortable with level 3, which was the highest risk. Okay, so we're divided, and then we start getting more specific training because they had decided by that time which action each of us were assigned to, which of course we didn't know. But so we began to be trained specifically on how to approach the site, how to approach through a police line, how to blockade, what the other roles of people would be, police liaisons, legal observers, jail support. We were taught all of those sorts of things. And my head was just like, oh my God, it was so full. And then we were divided into caravans. So we know who our drivers were. And it was a very, very full day. And then before we left the training that day, those of us at those levels completed a jail support form. So you who would you want to be called? Were there any medical issues, any sort of thing like that? So ostensibly, that was if, for a one phone call, if we were arrested, we would call that number and then they would take care of things. And then we were given the jail support phone number to write somewhere on our body that was not, visible. So, okay. So anyway, the next day, okay, so I need to start wrapping up. The next day, I was assigned to the highest level risk, the action at the Enbridge pump station, which you saw some pictures of at the beginning. When we arrived, there were only 2 police cars there. As I recall, they were completely overwhelmed by us. And so we held blockades. Some of us were moved around to different places to guard some cars, etc. Around 4 p.m., we knew this was going to happen. They came in. Everyone came in. There were cars and buses and vans, and they came in to close it down. So this particular group where I was directed by yelling by one of our leaders to go back and blockade right that area to the pump station where all the people were locked down. And we blockaded there and very quickly were face to face with the SWAT team. So we just held them off. We had the incredible support, again, food, water, sunscreen, electrolytes, everything you could think of. And at one point, they told us we were kettled, which means you're corralled and you're going to be arrested. But they didn't make any moves for that. So we stayed there, and my affinity buddy and I, who's here this evening, at one point, after we had been there for a long time, we got the sense that now is the time that we could go. And we just walked away from that line, and we walked down the road and we found our caravan, our driver. So we were able to go. And I'm not sure how that worked out, but it did. The final thing I want to say, and this is the most important, when Julia asked me what led me to attend this, I have such privilege, racial and socioeconomic privilege, and I know that. And because of that, I can choose how involved to get in an issue, or I can choose to not engage at all. I mean, I have that luxury, and it felt so important to me to put my body on the line because so many people don't have these choices. And I'm not suggesting everybody needs to do that, but it was very emotional, and it felt very important to show up in person and do that and be present. And I'm very grateful that I did, even though it was incredibly exhausting. Thank you. I hope I didn't go over too much.
Thank you, Diane, for sharing. I have the hard job of trying to hear everything people have to say, and it's impossible to share it all. But if we get everyone's story first, then we'll have time for some Q&A. Ian, could you share some about your experience and maybe give your overall impression of the Treaty People gathering?
Yeah, sure. So I don't feel like I'll have a lot to add to what the folks said. And I think everything was explained pretty well. What I would like to say a little bit about why I decided to go, that I've been thinking about. And for me, it's kind of an exploration of involvement, just feeling like I've been informed about the injustice in our country, about the dire situation of the climate, and the really the lack of movement on that from people in power, that's really geared towards making a difference, and also just the fear and the pain and hurt in our society. I feel like I feel that, and I don't think it's just me. And so I really feel moved to address that. And I don't really know how to do that. But that's what guided me towards this action, to be involved in a cause that isn't selfish, really, that has to do with something important, with the survival of our species, of the preservation of our land, and the relationship with folks that have lived on this land. So that was what really drove me to go. And so my experience there was, it was kind of, I guess, I can't think of a good word for it, but it was an exploration. So like, it was my first time being involved in something like this. So I didn't really know to what degree I wanted to be involved. And I'd never had, I've never had to make that choice. And I didn't know what to expect. So, I found the environment very welcoming and nurturing. And, I just was really impressed by the experience of the folks there, and of I guess, just the genuine, the genuine character of a lot of the folks that I met, and the welcoming, the generosity of the people who were hosting the event. Yeah, I don't think I have anything beyond that to add. So.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you. That was, that also touched me. Appreciate. So our fourth panelist has arrived, Fabio. If you would like to introduce yourself and then tell us about your experiences. And I know from when we spoke over the weekend that you're a longtime activist. And one of my questions for you is, how was this action different from other actions?
Thank you, Julia. I'm gonna start with introducing myself. And sorry for being late. I have to find a spot in Door County to being able to connect. So I'm connected from my car in a dirt road over here in Door County. But my name is Fabio Mora Arrieta. I'm originally from Costa Rica and moved to United States 7-8 years ago. Already lost track of that, and has been an activist since I live in Costa Rica, and also an activist here. And part of the reason that I participate in the Treaty People Gathering is as an activist here, I was getting to the point of being tired of losing. I participate in the protests against Tony Robinson, protests trying to fight for healthcare. I come from a third world country, and the best hospital in the country is the Children's Hospital, which is totally free at the point of services. You take a sick kid in, and you take a healthy kid out. You don't have to pay anything. And here is not even healthcare provided for everyone. Same thing with universities, people fighting to get tuition-free universities. Same thing for social justice and minimum wage. There are people still making $7 an hour, which again, I was getting so overwhelmed by those fights. And I see them that we lose every time, fighting against the constructions of the jail in Madison. Madison is now planning to build a multi-million-dollar jail there. And we lost every single time against the multi-million petrodollar empire. And I was getting tired. And then I knew that the Native Americans had been fighting for so long, so brave, that I wanted to learn from them. What is their approach? How they, after generations, in slaughter and murder and their land stolen, they keep fighting strong. Then I decided to go with an open mind, and definitely that language of the fight against that petrodollar empire, who is squishing every person, which is not rich already, and which doesn't have already a big a number of privilege. I was shocked from the beginning. They were hosting expected 2,000 people. I believe 3,000 arrived. They offer accommodation for sleeping in their grounds. They offer water, they offer food, they offer childcare, they offer legal training. You hear all the logistics of the amazing speakers before me. It was overwhelming, and they didn't ask for a penny in return. They share why they're fighting for that. It's not only their land, it's not only their water, it's not only the destruction of their environment. It's our water, it's your water, is for all of us what they are fighting for. And it's not a fight against the petrodollar empire, it's a spiritual fight. It is a fight for food. It is a fight for the family. Their fight is in a different level. And as expected, we were faced over there against the petrodollar empire with a federal label helicopter who throw dust at all of us. Police fully prepared with SWAT teams to incarcerate 250 people. I was in jail for 2 days after the event over there, and in a place where we were released from jail. I remember we take the bus from the jail to the campgrounds, and a black bear run in front of us, in front of the bus, very close to the place of the action. So in a place where the black bears run free, the government, the state, is ready to incarcerate 250 people in addition to already crowded jails like that. But they are not ready. They are not ready to provide water. They are not ready to provide healthcare. They are not ready to give medicine to the kids with asthma. They are not ready to give to the diabetic kid the medicine they need, but they are ready to incarcerate 200 people. So I was very happy to participate in this event. I feel like, in a sense, I was transformed how to approach those fights. And I'm very happy I participate. I'm very happy that my first arrest was for a cause like this. I learned a lot seeing the beast from the inside, that ugly beast to put in cages so many people, that strip you naked, that humiliate, that treat you as someone who did something so terribly bad that you deserve the worst. Seeing that beast from the inside was an eye-opening for me. It was different because, yeah, I have a big privilege. I have a privilege to come back to a job. I have the privilege to come back to a family. I have the privilege to come back to food and housing, which is a different experience from so many other people. But I'm happy to participate in that. I'm looking forward to bring my kids back there. Probably the next time I wouldn't be picking to be yellow. I was yellow marmalade. I won't forget that. Probably next time I will be either helping with food, helping with driving, or helping with childcare. I would love to see my kids and a lot of other kids from other families in the river, swimming in the white sand river over there. It would be lovely to see them over there and help all the water protectors that are already fighting over there. The fight haven't stopped, despite that in June 25th, I believe the current administration just evaluate the project and didn't decided to cancel it. I don't know if there's going to be a reevaluation after the ocean is on fire due to the spill in the Gulf of Mexico, but I assume with all of our efforts, and if we keep fighting, those permits are going to be definitely being revoked as other pipelines, and then we can start thinking, and we can learn a lot from these amazing people fighting over there, that what the fight should be for and why we should be fighting for, because it's not just closing the pipeline. It's something that goes beyond and change you. And now I realize that now I take the box from my kids and from myself when I go with my kids outdoors, and I slowly take the box and put them out there, which I don't know. I feel like that's something that I learned from the Native Americans, that they are just part of us. They are someone else who is out there, and it should be treated with respect. So thank you for listening, and looking forward for the breakout sessions. I believe, right? It's a Q&A and breakout sessions after.
Yeah, thank you, Fabio. I think we decided not to do breakouts, but we do have Q&A. Well, just thank you to all our speakers. I'm seeing hearts, I'm seeing thank you in the chat. I don't know, Fabio, if you can see the chat when you're in a car, but there are thanks coming through. What I'd like to do now is we can't cover everything, but we do have time for some Q&A. But Chiamaka, this would be a good time to put the spotlight on the 4 panelists and on me, because I think we'll be talking to all 5 of us at the same time. I do see one question in the chat, and Fabio had started to answer it. The question was, would anyone like to say whether this has changed them, the experience of going? Go ahead, Jasmine.
So I think this definitely changed something in me that I wasn't really expecting. I have a scientist's brain and an attorney's heart, because that's kind of where my background comes from. On top of that, like, I feel like Western culture really rewards and encourages cynicism. So a lot of my adult life has been trying really hard to kind of keep a soft heart, but it's hard to do, especially coming out of 4 very dark years very recently, and it being very easy to feel like nothing can change. So the thing that really changed for me after this was learning how to relinquish control. Learning how to give myself over to something bigger, like really and truly, and how to put my faith and my trust in something that was bigger and in the hands of my fellow man. That was big. So yeah, I would definitely say it changed something in me permanently, hopefully, and for the better.
Thank you, Jasmine. I see Jeremiah has a question.
I do. I have my hand up. So
Jeremiah, who also traveled to the Treaty People Gathering. And
right. I was there for the better part of a week. And as the other speakers have said, hello, Fabio, good to see you again, Ian. I was emotionally overwhelmed by that. And I've been in some pretty big, extended protest activities earlier in my life. And this was the equivalent of, as I said to people, like the People's Park thing in Berkeley or the Civil Rights Movement in 1965. There was a day when I came home and had to readjust back here. And there was about a day after I came, I just wept with the emotions that were going through me. I just stopped, went off by myself and just sobbed to get it out. But, you know, the way I think I've changed since being there is beyond that, goes to a strategic level where I had experiences there. There were thousands of people and half of them had to be 30 years old or younger, which is really rare for me. I met so many Sunrise youth and had conversations with everyone that I stopped to talk to, and it was wonderful. But it left me with the impression that we all have a common goal. We would like climate stability in our lives. But I think we need to begin to think more strategically about coalition building, about union strategies. And I think of all the groups that are involved with somewhat different strategic approaches. There's Sunrise and the Green New Deal, there's Sierra Club, 350 with pipeline blockades and protests. There's the indigenous, there's the environmental justice communities. I work quite a bit with Citizens Climate Lobby, which looks at putting a price on carbon. I also work with labor unions that are really concerned about where the jobs are going. And I work with Quakers on anti-militarism efforts. And what has occurred to me since this event is that we have to bring together all of those. We have to acknowledge that we've all got a similar goal. And if we're going to make it work, we need to coalesce and begin to hear each other just within our movement as to why a price on carbon is important, why pipeline blockades are important, why youth involvement is really relevant, and what the concerns are for labor and environmental justice. So that's what I've been left with in the month or so since returning from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Someone pointed out that did anyone else want to respond to Russ's question about something that has changed in them?
I would be willing to.
Go ahead.
It's hard to, it's a little hard to distill it because Jeremiah gave a great segue into this, that it was so emotionally powerful and overwhelming at times and intense at times, especially during the day of the action when there were some, there was a lot happening. And, but number one, the level of support and the working together of all of the people who organized it, the coalitions, I was starting, you could get a sense of that before the gathering actually happened, before we were there. And then when we got there and the level of not just the organization, but the respect, the mutual respect among all of the trainers and the people who showed you where to park and that, just everything. It was like living in, kind of an ideal world, right? There, to me, people of all sorts of people, all sorts of backgrounds, and the leaders, the indigenous leaders, like there just was no ego. And it was so powerful and beautiful. And that is one of the many things that really changed me and that encouraged me to see that these things are possible, because the last few years have as people have said, have been very dark and very challenging, and it gave me a glimpse of what can be. And so I feel more committed than ever.
Thank you, Diane. I see that Barbara would like to ask a question, I think.
Barbara, you're muted.
Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I would like to say how the experience changed me, which is that our I have more courage to act now that I've been up there. And there was what I really loved. There was so much that I loved about it, but how people from all different generations worked together for a common goal, and the respect that everyone gave the elders was heartwarming. We white people have a lot to learn from the native people, the indigenous people, and everything else that's been said. But for me, I came home with a lot more courage. And whether I believe that what we're going to do is going to make a difference or not, I'm more hopeful and I'm more willing to put in the work. I'm less numb than I was. I think before it was like, yes, this is something we have to change, but it's too big and it's too hard. And now I'm willing to put in the work.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. So I'm seeing a lot of requests for what actions we can take. So we're going to hear from we have time to hear more from our panelists, but we're going to take an interlude to talk about actions that we can all take. In fact, we're going to take an action together. And then we'll come back and each of the panelists will have a chance to say one more takeaway message that they would like to share with us. And then we'll probably formally close and stop the recording, but some of us may stay on talking about ways we could go back. But let's have my slides.
Yep. Just a note, whoever put the thing in the chat about the Rep Omar and Talib co-sponsor letter, you sent it to the wrong destination. So repost it so that everyone can see, because it looks like a good action.
Oh, that was me. I will say it out loud. It'll be easier to say out loud. Right. I sent it to the waiting room. Someone asked about writing to Congress people. I will do that.
Okay.
So let's get my slides. That will help me.
Yes.
So we invite you to join the community of water protectors. It's an invitation. It's true when you go on their website, the first thing they're asking is that you travel to northern Minnesota to a Line 3 resistance camp. If you go, and this is the website I've been putting in the chat, www.stopline3.org, particularly the take action section, but whatever part of their website you go on, this pop-up comes up and says, we want you to come to the line now. And so that is the first invitation that the Indigenous people are asking of us, is to come to the line. It's not the only way to do action. But I just need to put that out as the first. And I say when we end the webinar, maybe some of us who are trying to find a way to get back and talk about that, because there's a lot I could say about that. Another type of action is we are trying to get the message to Biden. And I'll get to that in a second. But another action is that it costs. I didn't show the video from Democracy Now! Because I couldn't show all the videos. It was very long, but Winona LaDuke talked about it being billions of dollars to build it. It's the most expensive pipeline, and Enbridge doesn't have, well, probably has billions of dollars, but they need billions more to build this pipeline. So they have loans, they're called credit facilities, but loans from banks. And there's a big bunch of credit facilities, which is it's like having a credit card limit. You can spend more. That's coming up July 22nd, 23rd. So there's a big week of action to tell all the banks, Chase Bank, Citibank, those are the two, Wells Fargo Bank, to stop funding Line 3. And if you go to stopthemoneypipeline.com, and I think Chiamaka can put these in the chat, these two links, or you can remember Stop the Money Pipeline. You can remember Stop Line 3 and just Google them. There are different actions in the week of July 8th, well, coming right up, to stop to tell banks if they didn't get funds from these banks, they couldn't be paying for all their equipment. And if you live in Madison, we and Diane's, our panelist Diane's playing a big part of organizing this, are going to have an action in front of the Chase Bank in downtown. Now that there's a farmer's market again, we are doing back to being there. And that will be July 17th. That's a Saturday at 11 a.m. So you could come at 10:45, get there earlier. A third type of action, which I'm going to focus on, is calling and emailing Biden to telling him to stop line 3. He still could stop line 3. There is a very good blog on the 350 Madison website. We have a blog series and a great blog by Andy Pearson of, I just read it this afternoon, that he has the power. There's something called the presidential permit, which is the president has the power. There's also these water permits that he could be revoking. And so we need to call and email him. And we'll do that in a minute. I guess I'll just say, I also saw today when I was on the Stop Line 3 website that they said that, sorry, I'm looking at the chat. That there's a letter going out by Representative Omar and Representative Tlaib from Congress asking Biden to do more environmental assessments of line 3 and line 5, which is here in Wisconsin. We can't forget that one, and the Dakota Access Pipeline. And they're looking for co-sponsors. So I called Mark Pocan's office this afternoon. They also put me through to Senator Baldwin and Senator Johnson, and I called them too, but I'm thinking Mark Pocan will sign on. We get many congressmen to sign on to the letter. That's another way to get through to Biden. So for more information on these and other actions, I would go to stopline3.org. That's also where I would go to learn more. I also, if you want to know what happened today or yesterday or tomorrow, I'm following the Facebook pages of Honor the Earth, and it's hard to say their name, GNU Collective, or you can contact me and I can put you in touch with some of that. But now, next page, what I would like is I would like to get 50 emails in the next 3 minutes. I would like everybody here, there's a website, you just go www.whitehouse.gov contact. You type that into your computer and it's in the chat. So you can just go to the chat and you click on the thing in the chat and you just write him a letter. If you prefer, you can call him. There's a phone number. When I called that line 2 hours ago, it was busy, but you can step away from your computer and, or you can put yourself on mute and try it right now and call. For the White House, the email or the call, it's pretty simple. I think I said I just give your name and that you want him to stop line 3. And there's some sample scripts here. We're going to take 3 minutes. I'd love to get 50 people to do this. You want to play the music for 3 minutes while we do this?
I'll try to get that going.
And I'm going to write one more letter because I'm not sure that after you get it go, yeah, here we go. People have the script. I think I can write another letter right now in 3 minutes. Thank you, everyone who took action. At one point I was going to do a poll and see how many we got, but my Zoom skills were not quite good enough. The poll seems to have disappeared. I probably didn't save it. Let's take down the slides. I'd like to see all your lovely faces again. So at this point, oh, we're right on time. So I'd like to, and Shiamaka, you can put the spotlight, I guess it's called, back on the four panelists, and I guess on me. I'd like to ask each of the four panelists, if you have a closing comment, perhaps a takeaway message, perhaps something that hasn't been said yet, or just want to highlight something from your earlier remarks. So I think this time I'll go in reverse order, and Fabio, I'll start with you.
Sorry, I missed the question.
The question is, do you have a closing comment? What's a takeaway message you want people to take from tonight's event?
Yeah, definitely go to northern Minnesota, not just for stop the pipeline. Let's say tomorrow there is they revoke the permits. I think that would be so far from a win that go there, get involved and experience why they are fighting for, because it's not just stop the construction of the pipeline 3, is way more than that. It's a connection with nature, with your family, with yourself, with your ancestors. Is living a happier life, self-sustained food, shelter. It is way more than stop line 3. But definitely go. That would be my closing comment.
Thank you, Fabio. Ian, would you like to add something to what you said earlier?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to echo what Fabio just said. What I have been thinking, just to, really encourage folks to go and just be there, and go and see what is really happening right now. Like the theft of land is happening right now. The destruction of our planet is it's happening every day. And it's it's difficult to take in, but I think that really going and being present is helpful. So I do encourage folks to do that. It's also a joyous experience, as Fabio has spoken to. And the other thing is just to encourage folks to really listen to Indigenous folks, raise their voices, learn about the history, and learn about the treaties. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Jasmine.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely come with if you are physically able to. It's fun. Who doesn't love camping? And while you're camping in the most, in the beautiful Northwoods, you also get to help save the world. So please come. Second is, I think something that's really, really important as you're going through a fight that's this big, you have to believe you can win. There can't be a single moment of doubt. Like, you have to believe that down to your bones. And I want to make sure that I'm driving this home. So I'm going to tell a very, very brief story. It was as I was driving up there, I was driving up alone because I'm the only one I trust with my car. Don't do that. Come with friends. Don't do what I did. But I was driving alone and starting to get kind of tired. And just as I was starting to think oh man, maybe this is a mistake. It's really hot and I'm really tired. At that exact moment, across my path, there flew this gigantic hawk, biggest hawk I've probably ever seen. And it was pursued by like 3 to 4 little birds. I'm guessing they were probably sparrows. And I love hawks. Like, hawks are a relative of mine as well, but I can see how I might feel differently if I was a little sparrow, right? Like, probably feel pretty differently about hawks. And at that moment, that told me something really, really important, which is that, it doesn't really matter how much bigger than your enemy is. They could be 5 times, 10 times, 100 times bigger, and it doesn't matter as long as you have the numbers. If you're itty bitty, like those little birds, your power is your numbers. So all these oil companies, like Enbridge, all of these people who are burning our planet, those are the hawks, right? And they probably came up, saw White Earth and saw Leech Lake, these little bitty tribes in the middle of Minnesota, and thought, I'm a great big hawk. These are little bitty sparrows, and there's only a few of them. Like, I can take them. No chance, right? And maybe they would be right. Like, I think they underestimate the Anishinaabe people, who are some scrappers if I ever saw them, but maybe they'd be right. But what they don't know is that in addition to the great Anishinaabe nations, there's also all these other people, the indigenous people who are not Anishinaabe, the non-indigenous allies who are there, our relatives, both human and not, like the land, our ancestors, all these people, right? We're sparrows. And there's more of us than there will ever be of them. So let's go get them.
Thank you, Jasmine. Diane, do you want to make
wow, I can't really follow that up. What all of you said, yeah, really the only other point that I would like to make is for everyone to look deeply into their hearts and see what they are able to do. If it's traveling to the front lines, that is fabulous. It's a phenomenal experience. By the way, you do not have to camp. It's great because they have the camping there, but there are places to stay nearby too. So if you are feeling like you don't, for whatever reason, there are other options too. I just want to put that out there because I don't know if people knew that. But here's the other piece. We've got to keep spreading the word. So it's great. People are so interested and want to know what we can all do in terms of contacting Biden and the banks and everything. If we want to make this even bigger, then we've got to help bring in other people. So your friends, your whatever groups you're a part of, and those are great resources that Julia showed us. Stop Line 3, Stop the Money Pipeline. Those are 2 incredible ones, as well as Honor the Earth and the Jinwi Collective. So if you just have those 4 resources, you've got everything you need to get started. I really think you do. And so I would put out a plea to all of you to educate others about this, or say, let's learn together, or whatever it is, because that's how we're going to grow this. That's what I would like to leave people with.
Wow, thank you. This has come together in a really exciting way, both all of you who came and all of you who sent an email. This has been wonderful. I'd like everyone to join me in thanking our panelists. Really. I guess with you're being spotlighted, you can't see everything all at once, but there are lots of people. Well, if you go into gallery view, you can see lots of people are thanking you. I guess at the risk of, the 4 resources which I mentioned, Diane did, I will just give a shout out to the 350 Madison website too. If you Google 350 Madison, we recently have had a blog series. You have to look on the blogs. And I will say that both Diane and I wrote blogs about our experience up at the pipeline, which is a different way of sharing than a panel. And I maybe said this earlier tonight, but I was blown away by the blog that Andy Pearson just wrote, and that was on our blog series, which was written July 6th. So it's very timely, and it's talking about how Biden can make, how we really can, Biden could make a difference, and we need to put pressure on him. So let me see my final slide. I just wanted to let you know about upcoming events. Tim Corden, who I don't think ever did call in. If he did, we would have stopped and heard from, but I didn't think he'd be able to with how hard it is to call in. The First Unitarian Society of Madison congregants are sharing a slideshow about the Line 3 resistance featuring Winona LaDuke. That will be a week from tonight. If you want to sort of, I don't know if we repeat of this experience, we did not show slides. It would have been fun to, so I plan to go to that. And the registration, oh, it looks like the link, maybe the here didn't work. Oh, is that what you just put? Is that the form, Shimaka?
Yes, that's the form.
Okay, so that's where you register to get to, if you want to have another experience in a week. I already said that our action here in Madison is July 17th, so that's Saturday, at 11 a.m. I also will welcome you, those of you who are in the Madison area. We're having our first in-person meeting in 15 months at Brittingham Park in Madison, 6 o'clock. It's bring your own picnic food because, well, we're still a little COVID. And that will just be a chance to meet some of the people, in person. And if you're not in Madison but want to come, I actually am the person that hosts our Zoom events. I'll be hosting, and Christina and Shimaka and Kelly and Marion. We put together monthly meetings, and our next one is always on Mondays, Monday, August 2nd. Will be Sustainable Food by Default. And I'm happy if you contact me if you have follow-up questions. Is there a Facebook event for the Chase Bank event? Diane, you would know that. Do we have a Facebook? Or maybe Kathy knows. Do we have a Facebook event for the Chase Bank event?
There is, yes. And it's on the website too, I think. But Kathy would know more. You should ask her.
I don't think there is yet, but there will be.
I thought I saw one, but okay.
There will be one. So I thought at this point we would stop the recording and take down the slides. And we've already thanked the panelists. Can you stop the recording, Shimaka?